While everyone is still trying to master Google VEO 3, the game is changing in AI video space very quickly. This is the new 1.2.2 model, and ability to generate complex, action-packed human motion is a secret weapon for creators. But is this new tool a specialist, or can it truly replace the all-in-one platforms like VEO 3 or Kling? I spent the last 24 hours testing the best state-of-the-art AI video models on the exact same prompts in an intense prompt battle. I'm about to show you which one you need for complex physical movements and which one is still king for everything else. Let's jump into image-to-video prompt battle. Starting with a simple prompt, we have a cat climbing over our character's shoulder, and we have also a camera motion. While cat is climbing over her shoulder, we want camera to pan left. Starting with 1.2.2, we had some difficulties here because the cat didn't climb over her shoulder, unfortunately. We have the camera pan left, so kudos for that, but the main action, the cat's motion, unfortunately is not here. Jumping into Seedance, cat directly jumped over her shoulder, but the problem is they started to walk together, which was not something we asked for. The camera pan left is also not here, so I cannot say that Seedance did a good job with this prompt here. Kling 2.1 gave one of the best results for this challenge. We have a nice motion of cat climbing over her shoulder, looks very natural and realistic, and also you can realize that there's a slight camera pan to the left side, which is everything we asked for. A fantastic job from Kling 2.1 here. Minimax Hailuo also excelled here. You can see cat's motion of climbing over her shoulder looks very natural and nice. And there's also really nice, smooth cinematic camera pan. Again, everything we asked for. Really good job for Hailuo here. Next one is from VEO 3. So it's pretty nice. It looks very natural and motion generally looks quite smooth. But this time VEO decided to ignore our camera motion. We cannot really see this clear camera pan to the left side, especially in comparison to other platforms. I really need to mention that sound is making a big difference here. And I really feel like now AI video generators are separating into two. The ones who can generate built-in audio and ones who cannot. And because of this reason, VEO 3 is in big advantage. But since we are judging here more prompt understanding, physical capabilities of models, I would say for this challenge winners are Kling 2.1 Master and Minimax Hailuo. They both did a great job, a fantastic prompt understanding. My next prompt is match burn slowly while the camera remains static. This also sounds like a simple prompt, but actually it's a complex one because there's a lot of stuff happening here. First of all, we need to see here a natural-looking burning action. The fire should look natural. We need to see that the burning part of the match is slowly progressing towards the left side. We need to see a natural-looking smoke coming out of it. Starting with 1.2.2, we had some difficulties here. First of all, it's kind of slow motion. I don't know, we didn't ask for it. One tend to make things a little bit slow motion, and this is something I observed throughout in my test. We cannot see fire progressing towards left side on the wooden part of the match. It looks quite static from my perspective. So I would say it's not the most natural looking burning match I saw. Seedance gave us a dynamic fire, but problem is fire is progressing on the wrong side of the match. Normally you should expect that match keeps burning towards the left side on the wooden part of the match, but here all we can see that it just goes to the wrong side. So it has some problems. Although I like that, fire looked quite dynamic, so that's a thumbs up for Seedance, but there is a logical error here. Similar to one result, Kling 2.1 didn't give us the progress of fire over the match to the left side. It just looks like the wooden part is not really burning. It remains static, and rest of the things like smoke and fire looks quite dynamic and natural. So kudos for that, for amazing smoke effect coming from the match. But this is not what we want to see in this challenge. We want to see clear progress of fire over the match. Minimax Hailuo also disappointed me here. This fire looks very static. Again, there is no progress of fire over the match, that we see quite a slow motion burning effect here, and definitely something we didn't ask for. Winner of this challenge is Google VEO 3. It did a fantastic job. So here you can see that slowly fire is progressing over the match, and logically this is correct. The smoke and fire looks very dynamic. It's a very, very good result from VEO 3 and a fantastic job In the next challenge, we are slowly going into the direction of physics. So here we have a footballer. We want him to shoot the ball. And we have a goalkeeper in the picture. It should be clear for the models because we have also net here. And then after the shooting action, we want goalkeeper to save the ball. In the spectrum, this is on the medium difficulty for models, and we will see how they will be able to handle logic of the whole scene. And models need to differentiate goalkeeper and player and ball separately. Starting with the 2.2, I need to give a kudos here because it managed to differentiate and separate the whole scene. The player is shooting the ball and goalkeeper is not really saving it. Actually, the ball crossed the line, so it's actually a score. But this is not so important. Most important thing is here, one was able to clearly differentiate the player who is shooting the ball, and shooting action looks okay. Of course, it can be better, but we can say like at least there's a clear action of shooting and there is the saving action from goalkeeper, which means that model was able to understand the whole logic of the scene. So I think one did a good job here. With Seedance here, things got quite weird. So you can see that second ball appeared and goalkeeper had a nice jump there, but again, there is no touch from goalkeeper to the ball. But in my prompt, I actually specified that I wanted goalkeeper to save the ball. This is what we saw on the one side, which did a much better job than Seedance. One kudos we can give to Hailuo is this is a really nice, like, natural looking shoot. I just don't understand why ball came back and kinda this guy just decided to like pass out or something. I think Hailuo thought this guy is the goalkeeper because of some reason, and then he kind of saves the ball or something. But then there's also this other goalkeeper appeared here, which was not originally in the video. What a mess from Hailuo. Let's look at the Kling result. So we can see that the football player is not really shooting the ball here. It's kind of just slips from him. And then a ball disappears. There is no connection of goalkeeper to the ball. There's not much action with how goalkeeper is not really saving the ball. It looks more like, I don't know, they are both celebrating the goal. It's kind of funny because morphing in the end of the video is just unbearable. It looks really horrible. Not the best result from Kling. Looking at the VEO3 result, there are many logical errors in this scene. So you can see, first of all, he's shooting another ball. A second ball appears, disappears, appears again. Quite a messy shot, and audio effects are nice, but the whole logic of the scene is wrong. And because of some reason, after saving the ball, goalkeeper decides to just throw it again. It's a strange, weird video, and I can say that it clearly didn't work. For me, winner of this challenge is clearly 2.2. Great job from this AI video model. In the next prompt, we have a camera zooming into extreme close-up of her, and we want camera to capture her intense concentration. So we are basically starting with a camera motion, and then we want camera to dynamically follow her while she is executing an action. This can be considered a complex prompt because we have a camera motion, we have complex physics here. There's so much happening. Starting with one, you will realize that it directly jump cut the scene to her extreme close-up. Actually, what we asked for was we wanted like a slow zoom in to her face. It's not here. And you will also realize some problems with her action. It definitely looks like an incomplete physical action. Jumping into Seedance, oh boy, after zoom in, this physical action, she looks like an airplane propeller or something, or a fan. The physical action is not really logical and completely failed here. Looking at the Kling, a nice camera zoom in to her face, really awesome cinematic shot. The initial extreme close-up is nice, but what happens after that? The rest of the shot, physically she morphed and she became something completely different than human, which is unfortunate because the initial shot actually looked good. Looking at the Hailuo, camera zooming in an extreme close-up, normally the physical action is supposed to start after the zooming in, but we can accept it. Her physical action looks almost complete. In comparison to some of the other AI video models, I think Hailuo did better job here. Of course, it would be nice to see the very end of the action, if she would land successfully, if it would be any morphing here, but it's acceptable. Looking at the VEO3 result, Again, Veo 3 always prefers the jump cut the scene to an extreme close-up instead of slow zooming in. The physical action itself looks complete, only there is a slight problem where the direction of head changes in an unlogical, in a wrong direction here. If you realize that suddenly head becomes like back and forth, and I would normally choose this one as a winner, but because of that logical error with the head and because of jump cut instead of slowly nicely progressing zoom in, I'm gonna choose Hailuo as a winner here. Once I create these AI videos, I need to find music and sound effects that fit the spirit of this video. For this, I get support from Epidemic Sound as a sound tracking partner, which I have been using for a very long time. When you download music from Epidemic Sound for YouTube or any other platform, you will never encounter copyright issues. Their licensing model allows you to use music in your videos worry-free. Without the distraction of copyright claims, you can simply focus on what matters the most, the joy of creating. Let me show you my favorite feature of Epidemic Sound. There is a search by video section here. When you click here, you drop one of your videos. Because one of the most troublesome things, as those who do video production and editing know well, is searching for music that fits the spirit and ambience of the video. With Epidemic Sound, all you have to do is this. You take your video, drop it here, and say bring me suggestions. And it will provide suggestions suitable for the spirit of this video. Imagine a huge catalog of more than 50,000 premium tracks and over 200,000 sound effects. Especially as content creator, the greatest luxury for me is being able to transform a mood or emotion into sound. In fact, if you want to select only a specific part of the music, you can click on the icon here. Choose any part you want and it will bring up suitable music for that section in your preferred length. There's also sound effects section. This means you can find sound effects that fit the spirit of your video easily. If you want to take your content to the next level, Epidemic Sound has a special offer for the Cyber Jungle community. Click the link I put in the description to start a full 30-day free trial. After your trial, you can use my code CYBERJUNGLE50 to get 50% off for your first 2 months on a monthly plan. So that's the 30-day free trial plus 2 months at half price. But this full offer is only for the first 200 people to use the code. It expires on September 10th, so don't miss out. Remember, the right music is the soul of the story. The next prompt is quite challenging. We have an initial frame of a cheerleader standing on an F-35 fighter jet, and we want cheerleader to perform a backflip and dance energetically, while F-35 fighter jets will be flying at a steady speed. Looking at 1.2.2, first thing comes to my attention is surface here, that you will realize that texture looks almost like a plastic or rubber-like. I think in training data, when there are some cheerleader action, there is mostly a softer surface. Her motion is okayish. It's difficult to say that this is exactly a backflip. While performing the action, some body parts definitely gets mixed up and morphed. But overall, I think it's an acceptable result. Looking at the Seedance, flight looks quite steady. A surface looks solid, so that's good. Then while dancing on the surface, she makes some kind of a physical flip. Of course, it's not fully complete. And logically, the body parts again get mixed up on the way. Especially legs get mixed up in a strange way. But somehow, up to some degree, we kept the body composition. And especially here, for example, the coherence looks really good. The next one is Kling 2.1 Master. And unfortunately, this shot is absolutely not usable. Things got quite messy here. The backflip is here, but what happens after the backflip is an absolute chaos. We have suddenly like her just walking over the clouds, almost like a musical kind of shot. And this other F-35s appeared, and it looks like a cheap blue screen effect pretty much. Looking at the Hailuo, after flip, things get quite messy again. You will realize some problems with the flight surface. Here it looks again like it's soft. That is supposed to be a solid material. And flip looks also quite messy and quite sloppy. The body composition after the flip finds itself eventually, but until then, the shot is quite chaotic. From my perspective, not the best job. Looking at the result from Veo 3, almost it could have been a nice backflip, but again, we lost the body coherence and composition and completely things get messy. And after that, we have this other F-35s we absolutely didn't ask for. The physical problems, which are in a level that it's beyond acceptable range. Looking at the all results here, we need to choose the least worst option because they are all kind of bad with this prompt. I think I will choose 1, 2.2 as the least worst option because the rest looks quite messy. The 1, 2.2 is the winner here. Jumping in the next prompt, we have a man walking slowly in the desert. Then scene cuts to a first-person POV shot of him holding an intricately detailed dagger. So here we have a simple man walking action, but what makes this prompt really important is we need the scene cut. The camera needs to change to first-person POV shot. This is very important. Starting with 1, 2.2, unfortunately it didn't do a good job, so you can see that it definitely didn't switch to a POV first-person shot, and this dagger kind of just appears there from nowhere, and after that it disappears again. Jumping into Seedance, there is a nice steady walk, and after that a clear, nice POV shot. The scene cut is seamless and perfect, and Dagger looks quite good. I think Seedance did a great job here, and overall in my observations, I realized that Seedance generally excels when you have a prompt with a scene cut, or when you mention scene cuts to, let's say, a different camera angle. Seedance really excels with this kind of prompts, and it keeps the character also consistent. Jumping into Kling result, steady walk, heavily morphing hands, and then jumping into a second person, not the POV of first person, showing the dagger. This is not what we asked for. It kind of did its best, but unfortunately, looking at the Seedance result, that render was much, much better. This looks problematic. The next Hailuo result, dagger, as you can see, just appears in his hand, and this is not a first-person POV shot we asked for, so it's quite problematic. Looking at VO3 shot, a steady, nice walk, it looks good, and after that, a seamless switch to the dagger POV of him, with the logical problem of holding a dagger like this would cause you to bleed to death. So there's a logical error, but camera motion is here, so I'm happy with it. If this logical error wouldn't occur with this hand grabbing dagger in the wrong way, I would pick this as a winner, but for this challenge, clear winner is Seedance. It did a fantastic job. So the next prompt is quite complex. We have these soldiers on a high-speed search and destroy mission. Then suddenly we have a Black Hawk helicopter appears overhead, and then helicopter gets hit by an RPG missile. Starting with 1, 2.2, I can see that the keyword high speed or intense motion is really elevated and kind of accelerated on one side. You can see that this action looks quite fast. The helicopter appears, kudos for that, but it doesn't get hit by an RPG. So that's like the issue here. There is some kind of like RPG type of thing appears in the beginning of the shot. You can see right here. It makes me feel that things got a little bit mixed up here, and the consecutive action is not really reflected or rendered properly. Looking at the Seedance, because of some reason, soldiers just decided to stop here and they are just like staring at this helicopter, and there's some explosion here, and this helicopter is in an unlogical way trying to land to this really small street. Actually, the helicopter is supposed to get hit. The Seedance didn't do the best job with this prompt. The Kling shot initially started well. Of course, here you can realize some morphing, and after that, Black Hawk looking helicopter appears. There are some problems with the physical anatomy of this helicopter here, but we can still accept it. After that, there's a hit here. The helicopter doesn't get hit, but you can see like some explosion right here. So this is not exactly what we asked for. And looking at the intense morphing problems, I think Kling struggled quite a lot with this high-speed action. Definitely the RPG action we asked for is not here. I think Minimax Hailuo generally did a good job. So soldiers are walking and Black Hawk appeared, and the RPG hit is not really clear. It looks more like it got hit by a sniper or something. So it's not like a RPG hit, and we cannot clearly see the missile here coming in and hitting the helicopter. But at least the consecutive action, the soldiers moving in naturally, the helicopter appears and it gets hit. is here. I think it comes closest to what I asked for so far in terms of prompt following. Let's take a look at the VO3 result. The shot itself already started with these soldiers are firing their rifles, but it looks like they are just shooting at their own friends, like friendly fire on. And after that, okay, helicopter appears, so it's good. And helicopter gets hit, so that's also very positive. But because of this initial problem where they're just randomly shooting at their own friends, unfortunately the initial logic is off. But I cannot say it's such a horrible shot. Looking at the prompt loyalty here, the consecutive actions are nicely followed. But still, I think I'm going to give the winner here to Minimax Hailuo. VO3 comes close, but Hailuo did the best job and gave me exactly what I asked for with minimum amount of morphing and logical problems. By the way, if you are enjoying this, please subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on. In the prompt 8, we are forcing models to be creative and use their imagination because we want Elven Archer to draw her bow, aim precisely, and then release an arrow to slay a monster. And models really need to push their limits here to perfectly render the motion of her and also imagine a monster on the way. Starting with 1.2.2, overall, I'm very happy with how she's drawing the bow and arrow, and this whole motion looks nicely rendered. Monster is not here, but it's not such a horrible problem. And of course, if we cherry pick some errors here and there, you can realize that position of her hand looks a little bit strange. But overall, I'm happy with this shot. Looking at the Seedance, it gave us a monster, a nice imagination here. She also nicely drew the ball and aimed, but aim is quite off. Looking at the position of her aim, I think she released that arrow somewhere completely wrong. After that, monster gets hit and just falls. We cannot even see that arrow is hitting the monster, so there are some logical problems here. Kling 2.1 disappointed me here, so you can see that the initial shot already started with some morphing. There's this huge, massive finger here, and then again, very long arrow. And after that, in the end of the shot, we have this strange monster just kind of appearing there. It has nothing to do with her aim. And her face looks also a little bit off. And this shot is unfortunately not usable. Looking at the Hailuo result, a nice draw. So we have two feathers in this arrow, one here and one in the end. But I'm overall happy with the physical motion of her and how she's drawing the bow. I think it looks nice, correct, and anatomy looks correct. And in the very end, we have this kind of like a figure appearing here. I believe that's our monster. But the problem is that we cannot really see that she's releasing this arrow. So my prompt is actually not fully followed here, unfortunately. Let's take a look at the VO3 result. There are so many issues here. This looks absolutely off. This arrow suddenly appeared inside of the ball, and how she releasing it looks really off, and morphing is horrible. Looking at the all results, I think 1.2.2 did the best job and clear winner here. In the next challenge, we have initially a camera snap zoom. This means intense, quick zooming into the cigarette being lit by old man's lighter. This is very important that we need to see that fire is actually touching to the very end of the cigarette. Then camera pulls out to show his first deep breath from the cigarette. Starting with 1.2.2, we clearly see that fire is touching to the cigarette, and after that, while he's taking his first breath, we slowly pull out. Very impressive prompt following, and the scene logic is also superb. Very good job from 1.2.2. Jumping into Seedance, we unfortunately don't necessarily see that fire is touching to the cigarette. How smoke comes out from the cigarette, it looks like a chimney, not like a cigarette, and in the end, the cigarette disappears anyways. Not the best result from Seedance. Another problem with Kling, unfortunately again, the fire is not touching to cigarette. Even though camera zoom in is here, the scene logic is completely off, and after that, a cigarette appears again right here. Super weird. The Minimax snap zoom is fantastic. So this is exactly the definition of snap zoom. Minimax is really good with understanding camera motion, so kudos for that. So fire is not like necessarily touching to the cigarette, but we can accept it. And after the snap zoom, We have camera pull-out, exactly as we asked for. Good job for Hailuo here. Looking at the VEO3, it's a complete mess here. So we have the scene cut to the close-up of the camera. This is not a snap zoom, and fire is not touching to the cigarette. Then cigarette disappears, and then we see the first breath, but until we come there are so many logical problems with the scene that it's difficult to accept this output. So it was like very difficult to pick the winner, but because of the initial perfect snap zoom, I picked Hailuo as a winner, but 2.2 comes really close. So that's why I picked both of them as winners for this challenge. Jumping into next challenge, we have a white stag sprints through a mystical forest as the camera follows it. Pretty straightforward. We want this stag to be sprinting in the forest and camera will follow it. 2.2 result little bit surprised me because I was actually expecting much better from 1. There is absolutely no sprinting through. It looks more like the stag is searching for something, and it looks like model got confused because of some reason. The Seedance Pro gave us a slow motion sprint, even though we didn't ask for it. Kling 2.1 Master, a fantastic sprinting, but on the way in this 10 seconds footage, there are so many morphings that this requires probably eventually some reroll. You can see morphing issues start right here with the face and then continues throughout the shot, and especially in the end it gets worse. Not the best shot from Kling. Looking at Hailuo, the stag starts nicely sprinting through, so that was good, but after that, unfortunately, it just dissolves into 2 other stag. Unfortunately, a nice initial shot just turned completely waste. The horrible morphing here. Looking at the VEO3 result, stag looks down, starts first walking, and then starts sprinting through, passing behind the tree, still keeps the coherence, no morphing. That is really impressive from VEO3. Looking at all of the results, I'm gonna pick Seedance here and VEO3 as the winners. I think both of these models did the best job in comparison to others. After all those tests, let's break down the final scorecard. When it comes to pure performance, we have a clear tie at the top. Both 2.2 and Hailuo absolutely dominated prompt battle, each saving 4 wins. But performance is only half the story, especially when you are paying for every second of generation. And this is where the winner becomes obvious. 2.2 comes in at an incredibly efficient 50 credits per second. To get that same top-tier quality from Hailuo, you are paying more than 3 times as much. You can also use 2.2 on your own device, since it's open-sourced. I will add some links to the video description for you to access this model. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have VEO3, costing a staggering 1,500 credits. But VEO3 is something else really, because when it comes to text-to-video performance, being able to produce built-in sound effects and natural sounding conversations, VEO3 is unrivaled. But since this prompt battle is focusing on image-to-video performance, and if your workflow is heavy on image-to-video, it's better to look at 2.2 with its fantastic price performance. Hopefully this video was truly helpful for you. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe for more in-depth tutorials. If you want to learn more about future of AI storytelling, click here.